The great prophet Elijah walked the roads of Israel one last time, his devoted servant Elisha at his side. At the gates of Bethel, a company of young prophets watched in silence, for they knew this day was holy. Down the rocky path toward Jericho they went, the river Jordan shining far below in the valley. From a high ridge, 50 sons of the prophets followed with their eyes, sensing a wonder drawing near. At last the two prophets reached the wide banks of the Jordan. Elijah took up his rolled mantle, the worn cloak of a man of God. He struck the water, and the river split apart, raising walls on either side and bearing a dry path. Together they walked across on dry ground, the waters standing tall around them. On the far side, Elijah turned. "Ask what I may do for you before I am taken from you." Elisha answered with all his heart, "Let a double portion of your spirit rest upon me." Then the heavens opened, and a chariot of fire came down with horses of flame. It swept between the two men, parting them in a blaze of holy light. And Elijah was carried up to heaven in a mighty whirlwind of fire and wind. Elisha cried after him, my father, the chariots of Israel and its horsemen." Then the mantle of Elijah came falling gently from the sky. Weeping, Elisha knelt and took up the fallen cloak of his master. He drew it over his own shoulders, and in that moment he was changed. He returned to the edge of the Jordan and raised the mantle in his hand. He struck the water and cried, "Where is the Lord, the God of Elijah?" And the river parted once more. Alone he crossed the dry riverbed, now carrying his master's spirit and his mantle. The 50 prophets bowed low before him, for they saw that Elijah's spirit rested upon Elisha. Still they begged to search, and for 3 days they combed the hills and ravines for Elijah. They returned with nothing, just as Elisha had told them they would. Then the men of Jericho came to him, for their spring ran bitter and their land lay barren. Elisha poured salt into the spring and healed its waters in the name of the Lord. From that day the water ran clean and sweet, and life returned to the land. Far to the south in Judah, a young king named Amaziah rose to the throne in Jerusalem. He brought to justice the men who had murdered his father, the king before him. Yet he spared their children, for the law of Moses forbade him to punish them. Amaziah gathered a mighty army, 300,000 men of Judah ready for war. And he hired 100,000 warriors from Israel for 100 talents of silver. But a man of God warned him to send the hired men home, for the Lord was not with them. Amaziah obeyed, and in the valley of Salt his army crushed the men of Edom. Yet he carried home the idols of Edom, a proud and foolish prize. And he bowed down to worship the very gods that could not save their own people. A prophet rebuked him, but the king silenced him and would not hear. Then, swollen with pride, Amaziah sent a challenge to war against the king of Israel. In every age, the faithful have lifted their cries to God in times of trouble. Though enemies press in on every side, the light of heaven breaks through the storm. And the one who trusts in God is lifted up in joy, his enemies scattered. So the psalm still cries across the ages, "Make haste, O God, to deliver me." Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.